Well, it's that time of the week again for Sterlo's wrap-up, the final instalment following the Roosters' 21 points to 6 grand final win over the Storm last night. Peter Sterling, hello to you.
Hello, James. I changed my tip. I changed my tip during the week. I just fell into the trap. Here come the Roosters, the red, white and bluesters.
You wouldn't have been the only one on the back of the Billy Slater decision, though, to do that.
But I'm kicking myself.
Either way.
Didn't see it coming. I certainly didn't see an 18-0 scoreline after 40 minutes in this game, but Roosters were wonderful. Hardly made an error in the first 40 minutes. I think it was 20 completions from 21 sets. Defence was aggressive, and in the end, they just powered away. The damage was done. They lost the second half 6-3. I don't think they'll be too concerned about that.
Nope.
But the first 40 minutes was outstanding, and just a great performance all round, right across the park. Luke Keary, apart from that pass there, was clearly, I thought, Clive Churchill medal winner. And when you consider that the Roosters only conceded one try and it was an intercept, it just shows the quality of their defence. But Tedesco, Manu, Mitch Orbison, as good as I've seen him play, and he's played a lot of great football over a long time. Warrior Hargreaves, I thought, was dominant in the middle there. Jake Friend had one of his best games. Boyd Cordner led by example. So for Luke Keary to be probably judged above all of that shows just what a performance he came up with to help out Cooper Cronk as well.
Oh, yes. Now, speaking of Cooper, and we saw Luke Keary at his best in the second half in the prelim, didn't we? A sign of what was to come, and he was more than happy to take on that responsibility like he did in the grand final. Cooper Cronk, the umming and ahhing all week, will he or won't he? And eventually he was there. Amazing story to find out that he was playing with a broken shoulder.
Yeah, that's the story, isn't it, really? And I've got to say, I cannot recall any intrigue similar that we had coming into this game in regards to a player's availability. There's always a leak. But on this occasion, we didn't know until an hour before kickoff. Nobody knew apart from the inner sanctum of the Roosters club. They kept it as tight as. And I've got to say, James, the red herring was the rotator cuff. Yeah. And when we hear that there's a possible tear there, I'm saying to you, look, he can't play. If you'd have said to me that he had and we'd have known that he had a fractured scapula. Yep. Now, for us laymen, that's a broken collarbone. I'd have said, well, he doesn't play. But he does. And then he comes up with this kind of tackle here on a big net. Now, I know they put him through a medical test, but that's still a Napa coming in. Oh, sorry, Nelson Aso for Solomona coming in. And he's hitting him with the left shoulder on the line. Now, that hurts just watching, and my shoulders are okay at the moment. But that's the kind of performance we saw from him last night, where when he needed to, he put his body on the line for the team. I made the point in commentary that the first two sets with the football for the Roosters, he didn't have a touch. So it was quite a while till he got his first touch. But that set the trend for the rest of the game. Luke Keary took over the responsibility of most of the kicking. And he just out there, he was a traffic cop. He just told everybody where to go, what was expected of them. When he needed to be involved, he was prepared to do that. But to me, that tackle just that shows the intestinal fortitude of taking the field last night and being prepared to do that with a broken shoulder blade.
We've seen Sam Burgess playing the match with a fractured face. Where does that one rank last night for you, though, in terms of bravery?
It's right up there, because you don't get out onto the field, and so the adrenaline can carry you through on occasions with those kind of injuries. I think even though it happened the first tackle for Sam Burgess, the adrenaline is still pumping there. We go back to John Sattler, and those kind of things. But to carry this into the game and know what the damage is, that's really hard to get your head around. So the mental toughness of Cooper Cronk to actually get onto the field, know what was confronting him, and to be able to go from minute one and be effective in the kind of effectiveness that the side was looking for from him, it's up there.
So, with Cooper Cronk injured like he was, Luke Keary steps up. His rival, number 6, though, in Cameron Munster, seen as the future of the Melbourne Storm. A match to forget, not only sin bin once, but twice in the match.
And look, I was very, very comfortable with both sin binnings. The first one, and it was the first sin binning we'd seen in a grand final since 1995 and Terry Lamb, but this one here, you see that he comes in late. Jake Friend gets away, and a sin binning basically is a professional foul. Now, the tackle is completed there. He comes in because he knows his side is in trouble. It's a brave decision, half an hour into a grand final, but it's the correct decision. Now, the Tricolours were able to score in that 10-minute period going into half-time. They went in 18-0, so that was costly. The second sin binning, and when you talk about costly, it might be costly to Cameron Munster in regards to Australian representation. It was ordinary. It was a sign of frustration and a sign of what some of the Melbourne players had been reduced to by the way that the grand final had gone against them. But it was an unsavoury. There's a kicking motion in there. Now I think
he definitely connects with the boot and the shin to the back of Joey Manu's head.
Yeah.
So a Grade 1 charge for kicking or striking will incur 200 points. So that's too much suspension. Early plea will get him 1, and the Australian Test matches against New Zealand and Tonga are his next available.
Yeah. I think he's in grave doubt to miss the first Test. Now we know James Maloney is unavailable as well with that crook shoulder. The news seems to be that Daly Cherry Evans will get a recall to the Australian team. If Cameron Munster's in trouble, and I think that there's every chance that he will be, mate, Luke Keary, bring him in, give him the reward. He's in great form. He's the Clive Churchill medal winner, so he was clearly the best player in the grand final. I would love to see him step into to the breach there if there is a spot available, and you'd bring him in with confidence.
You sure would. I think coming in great form. Look, let's look at the Storm perspective of things. Billy Slater, his final match, he fought to be there at the judiciary, got off, didn't get the farewell he was after. How would you sum up the performance from Melbourne? Were you surprised that they were so slow out of the blocks and it was 18-0 at half-time?
Well, I think they played as well as they were allowed to play to a degree, but yeah, their game was off. A couple of drop balls there, one from Nelson Usso for Solomona, where they actually moved him over to the left side for the first time to get at Cooper Cronk. He just dropped the ball clean. Melbourne, their attention to detail wasn't as good as what we would expect and what we always see. So, it was a poor performance from them. But I don't want to take anything away from the Roosters. They just didn't allow Melbourne to settle. They didn't allow them into the game. They didn't allow them to get back into the match. And even though the Roosters only scored 3 points in the second half, they were going along comfortably. Through the intercept, Addo Carr scores, 12-point margin. The next play then was the field goal. Yep. Just to implant on the opponent's mind that, okay, you got one on us there, but we pull away again now. You've got to score three times in normal time to get back in front.
Good luck.
That hurts. That breaks you down. Psychologically, it was a really good blow landed. So I thought that they just got that right as well. And again, it was Luke Keary who stood up under some pressure who nailed that. So they just got it right.
For the Storm, Billy Slater and Ryan Hoffman head off into retirement. Tim Glasby off to the Newcastle Knights. The Roosters, Blake Ferguson, he's going to the Parramatta Eels, but he'll be going there a bit battered and bruised. Broken fibula and played with it for the last half an hour.
That's crazy.
Did
he know?
Who knows? We didn't. We were none the wiser until today, it's remarkable. And these are the stories that make grand finals and you hear about afterwards. We're going to hear more about how Cooper Cronk's week went. Talking to Trent Robinson last night, it's unbelievable to see how it all played out. But they've ticked every box, the Roosters, in terms of bravery and then the result.
What about the pride in Trent Robinson when you spoke to him after the game? Like you could tell that he wanted to tell the story. The story that had been hidden by everybody. He then wanted to take advantage, and he's not that kind of guy, but he was so proud of his whole team, but certainly the effort of Cooper Cronk, that he wanted people to know. This is something important that you should understand. This gives you an insight into our club, into our individuals, into our mindset and our mentality, and that's why we're successful. I just thought it was great that everybody was tight-lipped. He gave nothing away. And what about Mitch Orbison?
He would have been in that 7 jersey. The double bluff that could have happened.
Well, I was confident of a couple of things last night when I went to the game. Firstly, that we were going to have a fairly tight contest. At 18-0 at halftime, I just didn't see that. And the other one, that whatever happened, I didn't see Mitch Orbison playing in the halves. I just assumed Madison into 5/8, where he'd played 3 times alongside Luke Keary this season. So you thought, well, that's a safe way to go. And defensively, he's great on that edge. Victor Radley back to the bench. Isaac Liu goes to lock forward, and away we go. No, it all changed. I just want to point something out about this. There was a lot of talk coming into this game, and Jack Gibson's name got mentioned a fair bit. Like, Jack was a great coach at a number of different clubs, including the Roosters, and a big part of his coaching philosophy was defence. That it was basically along the lines, if the opposition don't score, we can't get beaten. Makes sense, but that's what you're working. Trent Robinson has been a disciple of that. One thing that was overlooked, that Jack Gibson also was a great person to give you confidence to actually attack and score points. Now, at Parramatta, we had him for 3 seasons. We won 3 competitions. We were a team that were encouraged that on our own 20-metre line to set our back line back so that our winger was pretty much on the dead ball line to attack from there. Because the other philosophy with Jack Gibson was that you attack when the opposition least expect you to do so. First and second tackle, maybe on the last as well. Now, there's a moment here that I just want to have a quick look at in regards to that mentality, which we know the Roosters are so great defensively. But this kick here, Vunivalu just bats the ball back in. Now, Mitchell catches it. The first instinct for Mitchell, Keary, and then Daniel Tupou is to attack, is to run the football. And that's only 13 minutes into the game. So Jack Gibson being spoken about by not only Trent Robinson, but a number of the Roosters players in regards to defence. The other side of that is that you have the confidence to attack from anywhere on the field at any time, especially when the defence don't expect you to. And to me, that was just, when I saw that, I thought of Jack and I thought of, it's a continuation of a successful philosophy.
It's a great insight, Pete. It's been good fun this year, sitting in this studio going through it every Monday. See you in 2019.
Yeah, we've got a couple of tests to come. And,
we do.
We'll do it all again next year.
All of a sudden, it'll be February 15. We'll be in Melbourne for the All-Stars match.
We need a little bit of break first. Go and do some tennis.
Some tennis, yeah. What off-season. Thank you very much,
Thanks,
Peter Sterling.
Cheers.
That is Sterlo's wrap-up for the final time in 2018. Thanks so much for your company. And yes, we'll see you for 2 tests coming up in October. Australia taking on New Zealand and Tonga. Bring it on.